All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Ownership. It is Payton here, and today we have a guest that I've gotten the pleasure of knowing decently well over the last about year or so. But to you guys, he's going to be anonymous. So it's always fun to kind of have that dynamic of knowing someone, kind of being able to chat about something that they have coming up here as far as a practice goes. So today we have a real doctor fake name. And what did you decide your name was going to be for today?
It's gonna be Eric Studley, but you can call me Eric.
Okay, so we got, not only do we have a full name, but we also have a nickname. So I like that. I don't think we've had that yet on the show. So I appreciate you bringing that level of depth to TPO here today. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this one. Know you've kind of looked at a variety of opportunities over the last 6 months or so, and I'm just very curious to see what you have for us today. Um, I always really enjoy these episodes just to see, I feel like they really go to show the variety of different opportunities that you can find, and really that just no two acquisitions are the same. There's always one, certain thing or another that's like, wow, I've never seen like that kind of twist on an acquisition before. So I'm really glad to have you on today, and I think this is going to be a good one. So to go ahead and get things rolling here, um, if you wouldn't mind just giving us some details about your background, you could say maybe when you graduated dental school, what you've been doing since you graduated, and that kind of thing.
All right. So it all started a few years ago because I'm an international dentist.
Okay.
And then I got to the United States and I tried to enter into an advanced standing program. I was able to do so. And then I graduated in 2018. And after graduation, I start working at my current associate job. I've been there for 3 years. And I always wanted to, find a practice. I've been listening to Shared Practice podcast since the very first episode. So I've been growing with the philosophies, and I first was trying to find the biggest practice possible. But unfortunately, as George went through so many pivots, I also pivot myself.
Yeah.
And now we're doing more of a growth opportunity here.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So you said you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning. Did you kind of discover that during dental school? Was it after you graduated? When did you start getting involved in the whole world of podcasts and practice ownership?
Well, I started listening in dental school. It was 2016, probably August. I think
Okay.
it was when church practice started. So I think August 2016 is when I started listening to church practice podcast. And I knew that the most important thing for me was to get a license to be a
Hmm.
dentist. I wasn't even dreaming of being an owner or anything like that. But
Hmm.
then listening to the podcast, listening to other dentists, I was like, why not? Let me give it a try. And besides, it has a lot of opportunities and potential.
Yeah.
So we decided that, and I say we because my wife is also in this with me, even though she's not quite ready yet.
Hmm.
We want to practice together. So
Awesome.
we decided that we wanted to find a location that worked for us, and we've been looking for that opportunity, for that path to get to where we wanted to for about
Yeah,
a year or so now.
that's awesome. So have you guys always thought that, when you guys are both graduated and you're both dentists, you wanted to work together? Did you guys ever consider, doing things separately, or was it always kind of you guys wanted to be able to work together, or at least have the option to after you guys were both dentists and graduated?
Uh, the main thing is that we wanted that big group practice, and it
Hmm.
just makes sense to start with us. Then eventually, we can always transition to that other associate, and still one of us can be there at least part time. Say, for example, in a week, the associate can be there full time, 5 days or something, and then I can be there a couple of days. She can be there a couple of days, and then we will have more freedom until eventually my long term goal is more moving towards outside of like hands on dentistry and more towards that CEO job, or I would like to pretty much run the business eventually at some point in my life. So the long term plan has always been to get towards that group practice model, and starting together was just something that makes sense to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. And Um, the thing is too is, and you already kind of touched on it, was just the fact that having a family where you have two dentists and being in a group practice, it really gives you a lot of flexibility to live your life the way you want it to be. So I think it's very cool that you guys have kind of thought through that, and when you're looking at the different acquisition opportunities that might come up, you're really keeping that on the forefront of what you're considering. So I think that's really cool that you've been listening to SP and have really been developing that vision for what you want the practice to look like. Um, so when you say group practice, what are you envisioning specifically? Like, are you thinking like 6 to 8 ops? Are you thinking like bigger than that? Extended hours? Have you kind of put any thought in that direction?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that we like about the opportunity we're pursuing here.
Mhm.
It has the bond for growing. At this point, it has 6 chairs, but it has a lot of rooms that we can turn into 8 chair easily. And then
Nice.
eventually, it also has an extra space that's right now is used for um, something else is leased. And eventually, I can use that space and put more shares in there to get to something around 10, 12 shares. And
Oh yeah.
it also happens that my sister is a dentist too. So eventually, hopefully, she can come over too, or if it's not her, at least somebody else. But it won't hurt to have the capacity. Whether we use it or not, we'll see. We want to grow, obviously. We want to do it, want to take our time to build it up, but we have the room if we want to build all of those ups. So definitely, yeah, definitely, we always wanted to have that capacity. We know we can change a lot of things. We can change the schedule. We can have like two groups, someone working from 7 to 2 and somebody else from 2 to 7
Hmm.
or whatever, but you cannot change the number of shares in the practice easily. So that's our main thing. We want to have something big enough for our
Yeah.
vision.
That sounds great. Um, and yeah, that's a really good size to start from too. That 6 to 8 op range. 'Cause it's kind of, you're not really paying. I feel like you're not paying for the size of a huge building, but it sounds like you still kind of have the bones to build out a larger practice and expand, which is fantastic. So that's
Yeah.
awesome that you guys have really put a lot of thought into that. And it sounds like you're moving in the right direction there. So I guess I want to dig into a little bit more with your associate job you've been at since graduation. Would you care to just tell us a little bit about what that opportunity has been like and what you've taken away from it?
Sure. So um, I'm working for a corporate, but it's not like the big names. It's not like the Aspen or Harlan. It's
Hmm.
mainly rather medium, I would say. They have about 40 practices or around that.
Okay.
And so the good thing about it is that it's an office that's mostly seen HMOs, some PPOs. So I was able to develop my speed and being able to definitely multitask.
Hmm.
Always having like 4 to 5 columns where I had to do 2 hygiene checks and work on other 3 columns doing, you know,
Wow.
the procedures with most production. And it was the column system where you have like something with more production, medium production, and nothing.
Okay.
And yeah, moving around, doing a crown sit here, extraction there, crown prep
Hmm.
here, hygiene check, comprehensive. So definitely it's been a great experience for me. I've learned a lot. uh, I grown a lot. I also got a lot of confidence. And it's been amazing because when you do crown for those HMOs fees of 325,
Hmm.
and then you get to appreciate a lot a crown for 1800 per se.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine you definitely doesn't quite feel like you have as much pressure on your shoulders when you're getting reimbursed a little bit better than those HMOs too. Um, well, yeah, that sounds awesome. Like you said, you've gotten used to checking the 2 columns of hygiene with having your 2 to 3 columns of restorative, which is a great place to be at going into a practice acquisition. Um, as far as your procedure mix that you've been doing, what does that look like for you?
um, Basically bread and butter, um, extractions, a lot of them.
Hmm.
Place a couple of implants here and there. but it's nothing that I will do on a regular basis. Socket preservation, extraction with socket
Okay.
preservation type of things, and obviously, fillings, crowns, bridge, dentures, that type of
Hmm.
thing.
Gotcha. Any endo at all or not really?
I started doing some endos, but it does. I don't want to sound too money driven, but the thing is, when you do an endo for $100 or 150 or $200, and it takes 1 hour or 2 hours, and you still want to do a good job, just doesn't make sense to spend 2 hours doing endo
Hmm.
for such a low HMO reimbursement. So the patient will be better served with an endodontist. So
Hmm.
I have a great relationship with them, and not a lot of endos. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I definitely don't blame you there because I feel like as a GP, unless you really envelop yourself in it and you really get involved with just learning a lot of endo and doing a lot of it, um, just from like a time perspective, it lots of times doesn't make sense. Because if you're spending 2 to 3 hours on an endo, that's really eating up a lot of your time where you could be helping a lot of different patients elsewhere. So yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from that perspective. Great. So you're saying mostly bread and butter. You really feel like you've gotten good experience with the speed that you've been able to develop at this associateship. I was actually curious. So is this like, are you the only person at this office? Is there multiple docs there?
Um, it's like one and a half doctor. I work full time, and the other associate is there like 2 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think we've probably established a nice firm base just to kind of help people, picture where you're coming from, picture the experience you've had, and kind of help us see what lens you're looking through this opportunity that you have for us today. So, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a surface level overview of the practice that you are looking at pursuing, we can just kind of start with ops and production, and then we'll move forward from there.
sure. At this point, they have 6 ops, working ops, plum, chairs, everything. They
Hmm.
also have like an in-house lab where the dentist is pretty much doing the dentures by himself. He does everything, all the steps, and he's really good at it, by the way.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, so um, historically it was a $700,000 a year office, but then COVID hit, and then they did about 500 ish of
Okay.
production and good collections. And but yeah, 2020 hit him pretty hard. He's been working in the practice for over 30 years,
Okay.
so he's definitely ready to retire.
Yeah. And as far as the location of this office is, I'm assuming since you're considering it, it's somewhere that you would like to live, somewhere that you consider living, both you and your wife.
Yeah, we put a lot of thoughts into it because there are some negotiables and non-negotiable. You cannot change the location of the practice.
Yeah.
We don't want to live in a northern state, so we like the weather, and we're in a location that we're rather close to the beach, and it's in a suburban area. We're still close to a major city, but it's not exactly in a major city, so the
Hmm.
location was very favorable for us. We did a dentographic study report, and
Yeah.
the results were great. It's a rather older population with a nice median income, and we just saw a lot of opportunity there to do the type of dentistry that we do. Since for example, since I don't do ortho, I like the fact that it's a rather old population where they
Hmm.
don't do a lot of Invisalign or ortho to begin with. They have more of what I need,
Yeah.
more teeth breaking, all amalgams failing that you need to protect with crowns and that type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all those things sound really good, and I really like that you didn't hesitate. You're just like, yeah, we just got a dentographics report because it's like if this, is an opportunity you're going to be in for a long time, why risk it and kind of go in blind um, when you could be here 20, 30 years.
Right.
So I really like that you kind of took the initiative and got the dentographics report just to help get a better idea of the demographics around this practice. Um, Great, that sounds awesome. So, as far as the procedure mix of the practice you're looking to buy, is it a pretty good match for what you yourself do?
Definitely, that was another big um, point for us. So we've been involved with church practice for quite a while.
Hmm.
I just want to mention that my wife did the first version of the student, not mastermind. What was the name of it before
It
the
was I think we called it the TPO task force.
the TPO task force? So
Yeah.
it helped us a lot to reshape and develop our vision to know what we were looking for, and also we did the ownership accelerator, and we knew our negotiables, non-negotiables, and uh, definitely the procedure mesh is very important. I wasn't willing to get into an office where all the production was coming from big implant cases, on all fours, or ortho or endo, because I was not going to be able to reproduce all of that. So what we found is that this selling doctor is mostly doing amalgams, a couple of crowns here and there, and dentures, and that's basically it. The other really good thing about this opportunity is hygiene. So he has two full-time hygienists with a full schedule, and it seems that their patient base is really good for what we want. In the last 18 months, they have seen about 1,800 patients, which is awesome,
Yeah, that's great.
because we know that there is the flow of patients, and basically the biggest thing is the internal growth. So the seller is seeing seven, 8 patients a day, mostly fixing things, patching up here and
Hmm.
there, amalgams, a lot of them, a couple of fillings, if anything, composite fillings and dentures.
Hmm.
We spend a lot of time on that lab, and that's something that we can absolutely reproduce, if anything. And if I can add up other stuff like extractions, probably doing uh, more crowns. One thing that I learned about, and one thing that I learned in my current associateship is the importance of the intraoral cameras. So I basically
Hmm.
don't do a comprehensive without the camera, and I don't tell people like you need a crown. I basically take the photo and show them, and I'm like, hey, what do you see here? Look at this tooth. This is perfectly fine. This is how it should look like. Now take a look at this one. What do you see? Oh, it's broken. It has a cavity. A piece of the tooth is broken. That type of thing. So when you show the patient what's going on, they're more willing to be like on board because now they have ownership on their problem. So that was another big take away from my current job. I developed that skill of talking to people, the co-diagnosing with them, showing them what they have, and probably in this office where they don't have intraoral cameras and a lot of new technology, I'm hoping that I can use the same strategy where I can show people what's going on in their mouth and be like, hey, we can protect this tooth if you want. If you don't want it, that's fine. I'm not gonna push anybody to just to sell dentistry, but I definitely want to show them what's going on, and I will have the tools to protect those teeth from further damage. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you made a ton of really good points there. I definitely want to touch on two things specifically that you said. So first off, um, just the sounds like the excess of patients compared to what the doctor's actually seeing. If they have two full-time hygienists, they've seen 1,800 patients in the last 18 months, and they're only producing $500,000 to $700,000. There's definitely some icing left on the cake. I don't, for some reason, I feel like I didn't nail that saying there, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Probably meat on the bone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there we go.
Whatever.
Yeah, you know what I meant. But yeah, so like for a practice that's at that production level with an aging population, and they're seeing that many patients through hygiene, it's pretty certain you can say that there's a lot of things that are going undiagnosed, maybe things that are really being watched that shouldn't be. And it sounds like you already know this, which is fantastic. That's definitely one of the benefits of working with people that have been listening to SP and been in the ecosystem for a while now is a lot of stuff that we were going to say you already know, which is fantastic. Um, So yeah, the first thing is just the excess of patience, and the second thing is on the topic of the intraoral camera. So I know lots of times for me, I'll kind of hear both sides of the story. Whereas like if you do a good enough job explaining it, then you shouldn't need an intraoral camera. But at the same time, and I'm kind of on this like second camp is like, why would you even leave it up to that? Why wouldn't you just show them? They can, make the decision with you, and then they don't have to ever worry, be like, hey, like, is this really what I need? Like they can see it with their own eyes. And especially when you have it like blown up on a big screen TV, it's like this isn't a small problem anymore. This is a 55-inch screen TV problem.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's great that you've identified that that really helps you out in your associateship. And at the end of the day, adding intraoral cameras to a practice really isn't that hard to do. It's pretty
1600,
straightforward. Yeah,
1600
exactly.
for threes. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, between those two things, I think you'll definitely be able to come in and add on to the practice pretty quickly. Um, as far as any
Just before
things,
just before we move forward, I just want
yeah.
to say that the use of the intraoral cameras in the way I'm talking to the patient is also something that has evolved over these 3 years. Because when I started, I was more like, no, it's fine, you shouldn't do anything. But then I was starting to get a lot of patients where I didn't recommend that crown, and then they came back with broken teeth, fractured teeth, and I ended up doing the extractions. I remember an old lady, as sweet as you can imagine,
Hmm.
and I did a periodic for her, and I was like, I saw a couple of crack amalgams. That was very early in my career, and I was like, no, this will be fine. But then she came with broken teeth, and the extraction was not difficult, but the recovery was, because she has like a lot of medical issues, diabetes and
Hmm.
such. So instead of being aggressive on my, you know, diagnosis, because I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to sell dentistry. I end up underdiagnosing for her, and it was an eye opener for me. And I'm like, maybe doing crowns on teeth is not that bad at all. Had I done a crown on this one, she didn't have to go through everything she's been through, like all of these recovery issues and all of this pain. And eventually it started to be like more like, this is what's going on. It's up to you. We can protect it or not, but if we don't, this is what happens. And after a couple of cases like that, I was like more towards, let's just tell people they need to know what's going on in their mouth. And I feel like showing them a photo and be straightforward. Hey, if you don't want to put a crown, don't do it. But the tooth is broken. Just don't blame me if it breaks, okay? It's up to you. That's what I tell them.
That's awesome. And I honestly, it sounds funny, but that's actually a fantastic point. Is we're here, we're trying to help people, take the best care of their mouth you can. And at the end of the day, there's only so much we can do. You can tell them like, hey, this tooth might break. Um, and let's say they don't get it done and it does break. It's not your fault. And, sometimes you can do everything that you can and something just still might not go your way. And that's just, how that's just the nature of the profession. But yeah, I think that's great that over the last couple of years been able to really hone in on that and notice like, hey, I'm trying to like help them out by maybe not doing something as aggressive, but at the end of the day, long term, it actually ends up being worse for them. So I like how you've really noticed that it's not I'm being aggressive selling dentistry. It's I'm doing what's best for the patient. So that's great. I'm really glad that you've been able to take that away from your experience as an associate so far. Um, so as far as the practice you're looking to acquire here, have you identified any like red flags or things that you feel like could be an issue when you transition into it?
Uh, well, it's there is a lot of work that we're gonna have to do. It's a old school practice where they still write on paper charts.
Hmm.
They don't have a panoramic machine, let alone a CT scan.
Hmm.
Um, they when they do comprehensive exam, which by the way, the seller has not he stopped taking new patients a year ago.
Oh.
So basically, they're not doing FMX. All they do is like 4 by-wins, and if they see something, they may take an extra PA.
Hmm.
So also in the the hygienists, they mostly do profis. They basically don't do SRP. If there is a
Hmm.
patient with periodontal problems, they send them to the specialist for SRPs basically.
Hmm.
And so changing the mindset of the hygienist, be like, you know what, we can treat this in here. We don't have to do profits only. We can do SRPs. We can do arresting. We can help people, because how much is the periodontist going to charge them at the end of the day? So if we accept their insurance, we can actually end up providing a service for them where we can do in house some of the, of the cleanings and such, the deep cleanings. If obviously if it's a very hard case with really deep pockets and such, that's what the specialists are for
Yeah.
special cases. But
Hmm.
5-6 millimeter pockets, we can absolutely treat it in house. So the staff situation is going to be a big problem for me at this point. Yes, yes, it will, because at this point they have two full-time hygienists, which is something that I love. I'm not planning to change anything,
Hmm.
but they are overwhelmed with the amount of patients they have. So probably I'm going to have to bring a third full-time hygienist. Also, there is just one chair-side dental assistant, so I'm going to have to find at least one more, hopefully two. I'm used to work with two dental assistants
Hmm.
because I don't see myself doing just one patient at a time.
Yeah.
At least I have to see two. I'm used to see five, so going from five to one is going to be difficult.
Wait, hold on a second. So when you said before you would you see 5 chairs total, or would you see five and then including two other hygiene columns in your associate
No, no,
practice?
no, five total. Three for
Okay, I was
me
like,
and
oh
two
my
hygienists. No,
gosh.
no, no, that's impossible. No, no, no. I
Like this
didn't.
guy is
Sorry.
skating around.
No, 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 no. I didn't
Okay,
express myself correctly.
no,
No.
I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Yeah, but sometimes you have those two hygiene checks,
Hmm.
and you have the crown seat, and you have the emergency patient, which turned out to be an extraction, and then
Hmm.
you have the treatment plan crown prep. So there is a point on the schedule, usually around 10:30, where you have those five patients and somebody else waiting. So yeah, it's very crazy at times.
Yeah, I think it's good though that you've already identified like you're going to have to, fix some, staffing issues right when you get into the practice. And I think having an experience working in your associate job really allows you to know, like, for the amount of work that I want to do, this is what I'm going to need. Um, as far as front desk goes, what's their staffing situation like there?
They only have one full-time person at the front desk, which is basically like a manager, deals with
Okay.
insurance. She does it all.
Hmm.
But as far as I understand, she wants to retire as well. So I will have to find somebody to replace her, because she says I haven't met her. That's what the seller told me.
Hmm.
Apparently, she's not staying. So I'm gonna obviously have to replace her, and I am sure that I'm gonna need a second one, just because I want to be able to handle a good amount of phone calls, especially when I open the gates for new patients. I know I'm gonna need at least two people there, so I'm gonna end up having to hire two front, two assistant, and probably one more hygienist. So that's a total of five people. I never hire anybody, and it's kind of scary because all of a sudden I have to decide if this person is going to be a good fit for the job or not. And how am I supposed to know? I don't know. I guess I will have to figure it out along the way. And if
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get you. I feel like more often than not, buying a practice, you sometimes get thrown into a hiring and firing crash course as well. I feel like lots of times whether it's, your decision or, people just decide to leave on their own.
mhm.
Um, lots of times you get to learn how to hire people pretty quickly. So, um, I know there's a lot of people, especially in the, mastermind that have gone through that with their acquisitions. And I'm sure they'd be more than willing to, give them or give you their advice, in that front. Um, yeah, well, it sounds like you definitely have a pretty good vision of what the practice is going to look like. As far as those team members that you said are already on the team, have they been with the practice for a long time? Are they kind
Yes.
of more short tenure, or what's that like?
So basically, the seller is the nicest person you can meet on earth, and he's been treating the staff really well. So he has people with him for 25, 30 years. So they're so used to do things in one way. The good and the bad, or the double-edged sword here, is that some of those people want to retire. It's bad because you don't want to lose the goodwill, but it's good because it's going to be very hard for them to adapt to a new doctor who has a different speed, a different mix of procedures that I can do. It's always hard for someone who's been doing something for 30 years to all of a sudden tell them, hey, now you have to set for this surgical extraction, and now you have to, I don't know, put two people's in. I don't know. It's going to be difficult for them.
Hmm.
But I guess, like, going back to the same point, hiring and firing. I don't think I'll be doing a lot of firing. It's going to be mostly like retiring, replacement type of thing.
Yeah, it does sound like that.
Yeah,
That's funny. Dude, I've never heard that perspective before, but I kind of love that. It's not firing, it's just retiring.
kind of it.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Uh, okay, great. So yeah, it sounds like, if they're willing to stick around for a little bit, that's great. As long as they're, kind of willing to adapt to what you want to do. Um, but at the end of the day, if, you do lose them or they do decide to retire pretty quickly, it's not the end of the world either.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, great. So staff that's been there for a long time. I know you said that they currently aren't accepting new patients. Do you have any access to what their new patient flow looked like before they made that call, or have they not been taking new patients for a while?
Yeah. So something else I want to say is that I did the due diligence with Suzanne,
Okay.
and we went through the practice management software, and we pulled a lot of reports, and then she put the whole uh, package for me for opportunities and challenges.
Hmm.
Uh, and basically, we found out that they were seeing organically 24 new patients a month.
Oh wow.
That's that's great. They use zero in marketing. They don't even have a website. They have a one-page website that is absolutely not functional. They have, yeah, you can basically, it has a phone number in there.
And
So
that's it.
to be better served using the yellow pages, I guess.
Oh man.
And then so there are challenges. For example, I have to work on branding and building a website. I use Fever, and I design, not me, somebody help me,
Yeah.
designing like a logo for the office. I'm very excited about that. I like the outcome of that.
Hmm.
I also have to work on doing some uh, online presence, because I have to work on doing a website, and I also want to work on Swell to get some more Google reviews, and
Hmm.
all the other stuff like dental intel and that type of things. I tried to get a couple of quotes for the website, but the first agency I contacted, even though I'm pretty sure they do a great job, uh, it was rather expensive for me at this point.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna have to find a way to put a functional website. The thing is, I have so much opportunity for internal growth that I don't think I need to spend a lot of money on getting more people from the outside, because with what I have so far, I think I can go through my honeymoon phase easily, and then eventually I can work slowly on putting, you know, that website together. And my main concern with the website is that I want to start working on getting more Google reviews, and I
Hmm.
want to work on Swell, and I want to have that foundation and go from there, because
Yeah.
eventually I want to bring more people. I want to get to a bigger uh, patient base. With what I have so far, I think I'm fine, but my wife is joining me, so obviously growth is the most important word here.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like kind of it's the tough part because I totally understand where you're coming from as far as like just putting a functional website in place for now. That way you can start to start building up those Google reviews, get your Google listing, and have Swell kind of start bumping up those Google review numbers. But at the same time, it's like, do I want to pay for a website twice? You know what I mean? It's like, do I want to kind of pay to do it like halfway one time and then like come through again and like revamp it like to be what you really want it to be?
Well, the thing is, there are ways to do a website rather cheap, especially if you are the one creating the content.
Hmm.
And going back to Fever, they can design the website for you at a fraction of the cost, and you can have something decent in there with a couple of good professional photos. And basically you just have to say what services do you offer, making it easy for them to call and schedule an appointment for people, for patients. So that's my first thought. Yeah, obviously I will have to invest on a better functional website and all the marketing package that comes with it, because there's just way more than just a website.
Hmm.
But if I can do something for a couple $100, and then I can invest the big money on marketing. But yeah, I'll be paying twice, but I'm not planning to pay 5, 10,000 the first time, and then another who knows how much more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And, like you were saying, with the amount of internal growth that it looks like it's on the table, um, you're not going to need the best website ever to bring new patients in. I mean, they already had, 24, 25 new patients a month without even really trying. So I'm assuming when you looked at your demographics report, did it look like the practice was in like a pretty favorable area for, practice growth?
Well, yeah. As far as the location is, it has a great visibility. It's
Hmm.
of a main road, and there's a lot of traffic. It's close to a lot of hospitals and other business in the area, banks and something. There's just so much traffic that and also the competition in the area, like looking at other websites and other reviews, is not it's not that bad. Most dentists around the area are basically not using, like the 20 dentists on that circle.
Hmm.
There are a few that they don't even have a website at all to begin with. There are just 3 or 4 very well established, but the population, the ratio was like 3,000 per dentist,
Oh yeah,
and
that's great.
and there are about 35,000 in a 5 mile radius. And besides, the area is it's just growing. A lot of new constructions, a lot of people moving to the area, and it's very nice when you get a lot of people moving to the area, because those are the ones that trying to find a dentist. If you're already established in there, you already have your dentist, and you're probably gonna keep going to the same dentist that you've been going for the last 10 years. But
Yeah.
if you're moving to the area, maybe I can, be the new dentist for those people coming from north to the
Yeah.
south.
Absolutely. Yeah, both the population density and um, just the number of people per dentist both sound really great. I know you said 35,000 people in a 5 mile radius, and then about 3,000 to one for
Hmm.
population of dentists. Which, yeah, that's great, and I feel like that's one of the better demographics I've heard in a while for an acquisition. So yeah, it's sounds like you're great in that department. Um, Honestly, I feel like I'm having a hard time identifying like what's bad about this acquisition. I was gonna say, do you have anything that I know the paper charts isn't ideal, but I don't know. I kind of view it as like it's a pain one time, but then once you get over that hump, you get transitioned over. It's really not that big of a deal.
The biggest issue is that we have so much to do for growing that
Hmm.
I don't feel I'll be able to do it. Maybe I will, but I know it's going to take me forever to do it on my own. That's
Hmm.
why I have decided to get some help. That's why I did the due diligence with shared practice, and Suzanne has been great identifying things where we can just grow. For example, there's one metric that I love. She identified the crown to fillings 3-4 surface filling ratio.
Hmm.
So for every crown, for one crown, he does 3 uh, fillings.
Hmm.
So the ratio there is great. And again,
Hmm.
it goes back to the point where it seems that he's mainly like patching up things.
Hmm.
Um, Also, it's just there's a lot of things to do, but you need to be strategic. What time are you doing what? When are you bringing who? how are you gonna grow? And I think that's one of the main reasons why I want to have coaches who can help me grow. And in this regard, the chair practice philosophy, I've been drinking this Kool-Aid for way too long. I cannot think of any other way of doing it, honestly. And yeah, I know it's gonna be hard. I know there's I have a lot of work, but I just feel confident because I have the right people helping me doing the right things at the right time. So it's gonna be stressful, yes, but everything is stressful. Growth is difficult and painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree with what you said with more. Because the thing is, you're doing a lot of stuff for the first time. It's the same deal. Like I know for me, like so I just finished up my D3 year. You know, just see patients for the first time. Like anytime you do something for the first time, it's going to be kind of stressful. You know, you
Mhm.
like yeah, I've been like drilling on plastic teeth and doing all that kind of stuff, but plastic teeth aren't attached to a real human that has feelings, has emotions, all that stuff. And it's the same deal, you know, once you graduate and you start as an associate, it's like, okay, this is the first time of seeing patients outside of the dental school bubble. And then I feel like the next time you feel that same kind of feeling is when you buy a practice, because it's like, okay, this is the first time I'm buying a practice. Um, and it's there's going to be things that are hard, but if you have people you can bounce ideas off of, you can ask questions to, and ultimately kind of help you sequence how you um, work on different things in the practice, I feel like it can really save you a lot of stress, and ultimately it can just help you grow your practice, grow your brand quicker and more efficiently. um, so yeah, it's it's so nice to talk to someone that has been listening to share practices for a while, because it's we're thinking the same things, which is really really cool. Um, cool. Well, I honestly I wish I had more for you, but it sounds like this is a great opportunity. Um, and it sounds like your experience with working with Suzanne has been great. I know her and the coaches always have a wealth of knowledge, and um, them being former office managers really gives you like a fresh perspective, and gives them a fresh perspective on how to look at different practices. And I'm sure you've probably kind of seen that when talking with them about how to deal with different staff issues, just because that's kind of their department. That's what they used to do. So um, that's awesome. Do you have any more closing thoughts before we wrap things up here?
Um, the only thing I didn't mention or talk about was the insurance situation.
Oh
Uh,
yes, let's
a-
do that.
and I listened to the episode with the guru, the insurance guru,
Hmm.
and I really wanted to hire them, but when I went to their website, it was they had like a waiting list of 7 to 8 weeks
Oh
before
wow.
they start working with practice acquisition.
Hmm.
So I didn't use them just because of that reason. I use
Hmm.
a different company, and the seller is taking a lot of insurances, all of them PPOs, but I was reviewing all of those fees and stuff, and some of them are not that great. So
Hmm.
I'm just happy that, and the reason why I want to bring this up in this episode is because it may help other people in my same situation. I just want to say that maybe even though I'm early in the process, I'm working with insurance credentialing and PPO negotiation because the seller pretty much never did that before. So there may be opportunities here to keep the same insurance but get a better reimbursement, even if instead of getting, I don't know, if you get like at least a 20% increase for the same procedure in the lifetime of that you're practicing in there, you're gonna get a far better result, and I
Absolutely.
just want to point that out, that that's one of the other things that we're doing, and they've been amazing. They've been doing really a good job.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure you're very sad to be leaving behind the HMO lifestyle.
Oh,
But
I'm
you'll
not.
but yeah, that's great that you found one that is PPO, and it sounds like that's what you're looking for. Because I mean that really is a big part of acquisitions too, is finding a practice and just kind of a lifestyle that supports what you want to do. Some people enjoy skating around all day, seeing a lot of patients, that high, like kind of fast paced environment. of HMO and Medicaid. And some people, would like to just not quite have as much pressure on their shoulders. And that's totally okay too. I think just kind of going back to what you said about vision, just knowing what you want and then going after it. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's fantastic. Uh, well, Eric, we thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Um, Obviously, I'll be in touch with you more here in the coming months. But it was really great to talk to you. Just hear about all the different things you have going on in your life, and yeah, I think that should do it for this week's episode.
Awesome.
Um, but yeah, like I said, thank you for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week on the Pursuit of Ownership.